My wife handed me Pastor Thornton's personal Bible during family devotions, and I found their love notes written in the margins of Ruth and Boaz. But I should start earlier, at the prayer circle. That's where I first noticed something was wrong. I'm a guidance counselor. 15 years working with teenagers means I'm trained to notice things. Body language, micro-expressions, the things people don't say out loud. It's how I help kids who are hurting but won't admit it. Watch their hands, watch their eyes. Watch who they stand next to, who they avoid. I just never thought I'd need to use those skills on my own wife. It was a Tuesday night. Youth group at the Hope Springs Community Foundation. Grace, that's my daughter, she's 13, was there with her friend Bethany and about 25 other kids. My wife Kate runs programs for the foundation. I volunteer as a mentor. We've been doing this for years, our little family contribution to the community that raised me. I grew up in foster care. The foundation helped me when I was 16. Angry, lost, paid for my books, got me into college. I dedicated my life to paying that forward. Kate and I, we built our marriage around service, around faith, around showing Grace what it means to live for something bigger than yourself. Pastor David Thornton was leading the closing prayer. He's the executive director. 46, charismatic. The kind of voice that sounds like God might actually be listening when he talks. Everyone loved him, me included. We formed a circle, hands joined, heads bowed. Lord, we thank you for these young people, Thornton said, for their open hearts, for their willingness to serve. I had my eyes closed, but I opened them for just a second. You know how you do sometimes during prayer, checking if everyone else is being reverent, making sure nobody's goofing off. That's when I saw it. Kate's hand joined with Thornton's. Nothing unusual about that. We were in a circle, but then her thumb moved, slowly, deliberately, stroking the back of his hand, and he stroked back, just for a second, maybe two. Then it stopped. I closed my eyes fast, told myself I was imagining things, told myself it was nothing. But I'm trained to notice these things. Body language doesn't lie. When the prayer ended, I watched them. The way Kate's hand lingered just a fraction too long before letting go. The way Thornton's eyes met hers. Brief, but there was something in it, something private. Grace came running up, excited about the service project they were planning. I smiled at her, hugged her, listened to her talk about painting a community center, but part of my brain was still watching. Kate wore this silver cross necklace. I'd noticed it a few weeks ago. She said she got it from the Women's Ministry gift exchange. It caught the light when she moved, delicate chain, pretty cross pendant. She touched it a lot. Nervous habit, maybe. She was touching it now, talking to Thornton by the door. Too far away for me to hear, but I could see. The tilt of her head. The way she angled her body toward him, even though they were in a room full of people. The way his hand almost touched her shoulder, then didn't, like he caught himself. I'm not a jealous man. Never have been. 18 years of marriage, I've never questioned Kate's faithfulness. Never had reason to. But I'm a guidance counselor, and something in my gut was screaming that I needed to pay attention. Kate's hand brushed Thornton's during closing prayer, just for a second, and when I looked up, they were the last ones to let go. 3 days later, she brought his Bible home. I need to return this to Pastor David, she said, setting it on the dining room table. We were working on strategy for the fall gala, and he left it at the office. It was Friday night, family devotion night, our tradition since Grace was little. We'd eat dinner, then read scripture together, talk about what it meant. Grace loved these nights. She's 13 now, but she still curls up next to me on the couch like she's 6. The Bible sat there through dinner. Brown leather, expensive. You could see his name embossed in gold on the cover. David Thornton. Why do you have his personal Bible? I asked. Casual, just curious. Kate was clearing plates. I told you, strategy meeting, he left it. And you're returning it to him, here, at home? She looked at me then. Quick flash of something, annoyance, defensiveness. I'll drop it off tomorrow, Rob. It's just a Bible. But it wasn't just a Bible, it was his personal Bible, the one he brought to every service, every meeting, every counseling session, the one with his handwritten notes in the margins. Why would he leave that behind? Grace wanted to start devotions. She picked the book, Ruth, her favorite, the love story, the loyalty. Where you go, I will go. Bethany was staying over. The two of them giggled about something while I opened Thornton's Bible. Kate had disappeared into the kitchen. The leather smelled rich, old library smell, the kind of Bible that costs $200 at the Christian bookstore. The pages were tissue thin, gilt-edged, making that distinct rustle when I turned them. Onion skin paper. I found Ruth, chapter 1. Started reading aloud. "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you." That's when I saw the handwriting in the margin, black ink, small, precise letters. Thornton's handwriting. I recognized it from foundation memos. C. This is us, our new beginning. D. I stopped reading. Grace looked up. "Dad, you okay?" "Yeah, baby, just lost my place." But I hadn't lost my place. I'd found something I wasn't supposed to find. I kept reading the verse, but my eyes were on the margin. There was a date written below the note, February 14th, Valentine's Day, our 18th wedding anniversary. I flipped through more pages, the love story of Ruth and Boaz. And there, scattered through the margins, were more notes. Not biblical commentary, not spiritual insights. Meeting you was the answer to prayers I didn't know I was praying. When I'm with you, I understand what grace really means. Forever isn't long enough. The pen had pressed deep into the paper. You could feel the indentations with your fingertip. These weren't casual notes. These were love letters, written in the margins of Scripture. "Dad," Grace again, "are you going to finish?" I closed the Bible. My hands were shaking slightly. I picked up our family Bible instead, the one we actually use for devotions, and finished the chapter. I don't remember what I said. I was on autopilot. Guidance counselor voice, warm, steady, safe. Grace and Bethany went upstairs. Kate was still in the kitchen. I sat there holding Thornton's Bible. The thing about being a counselor is that you're trained to consider alternative explanations. Maybe the C was someone else. Maybe this was from years ago, before Kate even worked at the foundation. Maybe I was paranoid. But February 14th, our anniversary, the day Kate told me she didn't need jewelry this year, that we should save money, that what mattered was being together. The day someone else gave her love notes in the margins of Holy Scripture. I opened the Bible again, ran my finger along Ruth 1:16. "Where you go, I will go." The verse we'd quoted at our own wedding. "See, this is us." Grace is watching how I handle this, I thought, what faith looks like when it's tested. I didn't confront Kate that night. I put the Bible back on the table, went to bed, lay there staring at the ceiling while she slept beside me, or pretended to sleep. I flipped to Ruth and Boaz, the love story our marriage was supposed to mirror, and found their secret written in the margins. Jamie Chen called me at 10 o'clock on Sunday night. Jamie's the CFO at Hope Springs. We've known each other for 6 years, since he started. Good guy, careful. The kind of accountant who triple checks everything because he actually cares about where the money goes. When you're managing $12 million in donor funds meant to help foster kids and struggling families, that kind of careful matters. "Rob, I need to talk to you," he said. "Not on the phone? Can I come by?" "Now? It can't wait." Kate was at a foundation event. Grace was asleep. I sat at the kitchen table waiting. Thornton's Bible still sitting there, like evidence I hadn't figured out what to do with yet. Jamie arrived 20 minutes later. He had a folder. The way he held it, protective, close to his chest, told me everything I needed to know before he even opened his mouth. "I don't know how to say this," he started. "Just say it." He spread papers across my kitchen table, white cardstock, foundation letterhead, credit card statements. I recognized the format. I'd seen them at board meetings, the routine financial reports. But these weren't routine. I was reconciling Q3 expenses, Jamie said, standard audit prep, and I found discrepancies. He pointed to a highlighted line. Mountain View Resort, 2 rooms, executive suites, $847. "That was a September leadership retreat," I said. "I remember, Kate went, team building weekend." "Right." Jamie flipped to another page. "And here's the October retreat, Riverside Conference Center, 2 executive suites again, adjoining, $1,203, adjoining. And here, November, Asheville Grand, 2 suites, spa services, couples massage, $960. He kept flipping pages. Each one had yellow highlighter. Each one showed the same pattern. 2 rooms, expensive rooms, always adjoining when the floor plan allowed it. Rob, these aren't listed as team retreats on the official calendar. These are marked as staff development. But only 2 people attended, your wife and Pastor Thornton. The kitchen was very quiet. I could hear the refrigerator humming. How much? I asked. $8,247 over 18 months. All charged to the foundation corporate card, which is donor money, Rob. Money people gave us to help kids. Jamie's voice was tight, angry. This isn't just an affair. This is embezzlement. This is a crime. I picked up one of the statements. The paper crinkled in my hands. Quality cardstock. Official. Itemized. Each charge listed with clinical precision. Room 412. Room 414. Adjoining. Spa services. Couples massage. Charge to Hope Springs Foundation. Tax-deductible donation money. Does Eleanor know? Eleanor Hayes was the board chair. Major donor. 68 years old. Sharp as a knife. Ran the board like a general. Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first. I don't know what you want me to... Report it, I said. Do your job. Report the discrepancy to the board. Rob, that will trigger an investigation. Kate could lose her job. Thornton too. The scandal could hurt the foundation. We serve vulnerable populations. If donors pull funding because of this, then we'll deal with it. But you can't cover this up, Jamie. You know that. He nodded slowly, relieved maybe that I wasn't asking him to bury it. I'm sorry, he said. I know you and Kate. I'm really sorry. After he left, I sat there looking at the credit card statements. $8,000, adjoining suites, every single retreat. While I was home with Grace, helping her with homework, going to her volleyball games, maintaining the illusion of family. I thought about the Bible upstairs, the love notes in the margins, February 14th. I thought about the prayer circle, the way their hands had lingered. Jamie spread the credit card statements across my kitchen table. $8,000 of donor money for hotel rooms. The next morning, I was helping Grace with her school project when everything fell apart. She had this big presentation due, 8th grade social studies, community service heroes. She'd chosen the Hope Springs Foundation, of course, wanted to interview her mom, show all the good work the foundation does. I was proud of her, proud that she'd grown up seeing service as important. I need Mom's files on the youth programs, Grace said. Can I look in her office? Sure, baby. I think they're in the blue folder on her desk. Kate was at a foundation meeting. Wouldn't be home until afternoon. Grace went into the home office, the spare bedroom we'd converted. I heard her moving things around, opening drawers. Dad, I can't find the blue folder, but I found some registration forms. Can I use these? What kind of forms? She came out holding a stack of papers, paper clipped together. Official foundation letterhead. Retreat registration forms. They're from the leadership retreats, see? It has the foundation logo and everything. I could use this to show how they train the staff. I took the papers from her. Suddenly, I didn't want her looking at them too closely. Maybe we should ask Mom first, I said. But Grace was reading over my shoulder. Hey, that's weird. What? Why did Mom and Pastor Thornton need adjoining rooms at the leadership retreat? That's weird, right? My stomach dropped. The form was from September. Last September. I could see the room assignments typed neatly. Room 412, Catherine Morrison. Room 414, David Thornton. And next to the room numbers, someone had checked a box. Adjoining rooms requested. Below that, meal selections. Dinner for 2, breakfast for 2, and circled in pen, spa services, premium package, couples massage. Dad, I couldn't speak for a second. Dad, why would they need... For strategy meetings, I said. My voice sounded strange. They probably needed to work closely. Planning the gala, it's easier if the rooms are next to each other. But Grace was 13, not stupid. She looked at me with those clear eyes, my daughter's eyes, the ones that still believed in fairy tales and happy endings and parents who told the truth. Couples massage, she asked quietly. I took the forms from her. Let's use different examples for your project, okay? Maybe the tutoring program or the scholarship fund. Those are better stories. She didn't argue, but I saw something in her face. Confusion, maybe the first edge of understanding she didn't want to have. The beginning of innocence cracking. After she went back to her room, I looked at the forms more carefully. 3 different retreats, September, October, November. Each one showed the same pattern. adjoining rooms, meals for two. At the bottom of the November form, someone had written in neat handwriting, "Note, Executive Suite Upgrade approved by E.D. Thornton." E.D. Executive Director. He'd approved his own room upgrade, with my wife in the adjoining suite. I thought about Grace asking that question. Why would they need adjoining rooms? The confusion in her voice. Grace is watching how I handle this, I thought again. What faith looks like when it's tested. I put the forms in my own folder, added them to the credit card statements Jamie had left. Evidence was piling up, each piece making it harder to pretend I didn't know what I knew. Grace was highlighting information for her project when she stopped, asked why her mom and Pastor Thornton needed adjoining rooms at the leadership retreat. That same afternoon, while Grace was at volleyball practice, something else happened. Kate came home carrying her work bag. I was in the living room, pretending to read. She went upstairs to change. I heard her moving around in the bedroom, the bathroom. Then I heard something fall. "Damn it," Kate muttered. I went upstairs. She was in the bedroom, kneeling on the floor. Her purse had tipped over, contents spilling across the carpet. "You okay?" I asked. "Fine, just clumsy." She was gathering things quickly. Lipstick, keys, her phone. That's when I saw it, a photograph. Thermal paper, black and white. Medical quality. It had slid under the bed when the purse fell. I bent down, picked it up before she could. Ultrasound. 8 weeks. The date stamp was clear at the top. July 15th, 2025. Women's Health Center, Charlotte. Rob. Kate reached for it. I held it away from her. Looked at the image, the tiny form, the gestational age calculation. 8 weeks. That meant conception was mid-May, during the women's conference in Charlotte, the women's conference I hadn't attended. "You're pregnant," I said. Grace appeared in the doorway. She must have come home early. "Mom's pregnant? Why didn't you tell us?" The ultrasound photo slipped out from between the prayer journal pages. Grace picked it up before I could stop her. Late that night, after I'd somehow gotten through dinner and gotten Grace to bed, Kate finally cornered me. We were in the kitchen. She'd been avoiding me for hours, but now there was nowhere left to go. I'd asked Grace to stay upstairs, said Mom and I needed to talk. "You've been snooping," Kate said. Her arms were crossed. "I've been paying attention. Through my things, through my work files. That's not paying attention, Rob. That's... I found the Bible," I interrupted. "Thornton's Bible, the one you brought home. I read the margins." She went very still. "Xiu, this is us, our new beginning. Written on our anniversary. Kate, our anniversary. Rob." Jamie showed me the credit card statements. $8,000 in hotel rooms. Adjoining suites. Every retreat for 18 months. Donor money, Kate. Money meant for foster kids. "You don't understand." Grace found the registration forms. Asked me why you and Thornton needed adjoining rooms. "She's 13, Kate. 13. And she's already starting to figure out what you've been doing." Kate's hand went to her throat, to that silver cross necklace she wore. She touched it like a talisman. "The baby," I said quietly. "Is it his?" She didn't answer, didn't need to. Her silence was confirmation. "You have to understand," she finally said. "David and I, we didn't plan this. It just happened. We were working so closely, and he understands me in a way." "Don't." My voice was sharper than I intended. "Don't give me that speech. You made choices. Every hotel room, every retreat, every time you wrote in the margins of scripture about your new beginning while I was home with our daughter. Those were choices. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me how you can lead youth group on Tuesday and commit adultery on Wednesday. I want you to explain how you can talk about faith and integrity while stealing from kids who need help. It's not stealing. It's embezzlement, Kate. That's the legal term. Using corporate funds for personal benefit. That's a crime." She looked scared then. Good. She should be scared. "Rob, please, think about Grace. If this comes out, it will destroy her. The foundation is her whole community, her friends, her youth group. If we make this public, I'm not the one who did this. But you're the one who gets to decide what happens next." She stepped closer, touched that cross again. "Keep quiet, just until after the gala. That's only 4 weeks away. After David gets his award, after the major donors have committed for next year, then we can figure things out quietly, privately, No scandal, no one has to know. Everyone will know eventually you're pregnant. I'll handle that. But Rob, please, for grace. If you expose this now, she loses her faith community. She loses her friends. She loses her mother's reputation. Everything she knows gets destroyed. Is that what you want? To hurt our daughter? She was good. I'll give her that. She knew exactly which buttons to push. Grace, community, faith, the things that mattered most to me. Think about what this will do to her, Kate pressed. You're a counselor. You know how devastating public scandal is for kids. She's 13. This is the worst possible age for something like this. Please, Rob, keep quiet, just until after the gala. She touched that silver cross at her throat. Defensive. Desperate. Keep quiet until after the gala, Rob. Or I'll make sure Grace loses her faith community and her mother. What would that do to her? I didn't answer. Couldn't. Because she was right about one thing. Whatever I did next would change Grace's life forever. And Grace was watching, learning what faith looked like when it was tested, learning what integrity cost, learning what kind of man her father really was. I didn't sleep that night. Lay there in the dark, listening to Kate breathe, or pretend to breathe, hard to tell which. At 6 a.m, I got up, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table with all the evidence spread out in front of me. The Bible with its love notes, the credit card statements, the retreat forms, the ultrasound photo. Physical proof of 18 months of lies. I kept thinking about what Kate had said. Think about Grace, as if I'd been thinking about anything else, as if every decision I made wasn't filtered through the question, what does this teach my daughter? I grew up watching my father stay in a bad marriage for stability. Watched him become smaller every year, quieter, less himself. When I was 16, before the system placed me in foster care, he told me, sometimes you swallow your pride for the people you love. But what he really taught me was that love looked like slow erasure, that staying meant disappearing. I swore I'd never teach Grace that lesson. At 7:30, I called Pastor Ruth Anderson. She's the associate pastor at Riverside Church, one of the congregations that partners with Hope Springs. I've known her for 8 years. She'd counseled me and Kate during a rough patch when Grace was 5. She was real Ruth, not performance. Actual faith that showed up in how she lived. Rob? Her voice was surprised. It's early. I need to talk to you, not on the phone. Can I come by your office? Is everything okay? No, but I need help figuring out what okay looks like. She told me to come at 9. Ruth's office smelled like old books and coffee. She had a wall of theological texts, another wall of counseling resources, a window that looked out on the church garden. She sat across from me in the comfortable chairs she kept for counseling sessions, not behind a desk, not with any barrier between us. I'd brought the Christmas ornament. I know that sounds strange, but I'd been packing up seasonal decorations the night before, trying to keep my hands busy, and I'd found it in the box, the little felt angel Grace had made when she was 6. Morrison Family 2018, written in black marker, the letters crooked and careful. That was the last Christmas that felt real. The last time Kate had participated fully in our family traditions. After that, she'd always been too busy, too stressed, too invested in foundation work. I'd thought she was just dedicated. Turns out she was just checked out. Ruth looked at the ornament in my hands. Didn't ask about it yet. Tell me what happened, she said. So I did. All of it. The prayer circle, the Bible, the credit card statements, Grace's innocent question about adjoining rooms, the ultrasound, Kate's ultimatum. Ruth listened without interrupting. That's a rare skill. Most people want to jump in with advice, with comfort, with solutions. Ruth just listened. Let the silence sit when I needed to gather myself. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. What do you want to do? She asked. I don't know. Kate says if I expose this, I destroy Grace's faith community, her friends, everything she knows. And she's right, Ruth. Grace loves that youth group. She loves the foundation. If this becomes public... Rob, Ruth leaned forward slightly. Can I tell you a story? I nodded. Jesus went into the temple, the house of God, the holiest place in Jerusalem, and he found people using religion to make money, using faith as cover for corruption. You know what he did? He overturned the tables. He overturned the tables, Ruth repeated. Made a whip, drove them out, made a scene, caused a scandal. He didn't keep quiet for the sake of peace. He didn't protect the institution at the expense of truth. But Grace is watching how you handle this, Ruth said. She picked up the ornament from where I'd set it on the table between us, held it gently. This represents what, Rob? The last time things felt real, before everything changed, before Kate checked out, before the affair started. Ruth turned the ornament over in her hands. You can't get this back. You know that, right? Whatever you do now, that version of your family is gone. The only question is what you teach Grace about what comes next. Kate says I'd be hurting Grace by exposing this. No, Kate and Thornton already hurt Grace. They hurt her the moment they started this affair. The moment they stole from vulnerable kids to fund hotel rooms. The moment they turned faith into performance. That damage is done, Rob. You're not choosing whether to hurt Grace. You're choosing what lesson she learns from the hurt that's already happened. Ruth held the little felt angel Grace made. Jesus overturned tables when people use faith for selfish gain. Sometimes the most faithful thing is to expose hypocrisy, even when it costs everything. I went home. Grace was at school. Kate was at the foundation office. I sat in the home office where Grace had found those retreat forms, and I started going through Kate's files more carefully. I found the prayer journal in her desk drawer. It had a floral fabric cover, purple and cream. Well worn, the pages smelled like Kate's perfume. She'd been keeping this journal for years. I'd seen her write in it before, thought it was beautiful that she maintained a devotional practice. Now I opened it with different eyes. The entries were dated. I flipped to May, the month of the women's conference in Charlotte. Lord, I know this is complicated, but when I'm with Dee, I feel seen in a way I haven't felt in years. R is a good man, but he doesn't understand what I need, what I've become. Help me know what to do. June, praying for wisdom. Dee and I talked about the future. I know leaving R will hurt Grace, but staying in a marriage where I'm not fulfilled hurts her too, doesn't it? She deserves a mother who's whole. July. Found out I'm pregnant. Dee is scared, but I know this is a sign. A new beginning. Lord, give me strength to leave R without destroying Grace. August. R is getting suspicious. Need to be more careful. After the gala, after Dee gets his award and the donors commit, then we can handle this quietly. R will understand. He always understands. September. Why won't R just accept what I'm offering? A quiet separation, co-parenting, no scandal. But he keeps asking questions, keeps looking at me like I've done something wrong. Dee says R will come around. We just need time. My hands were shaking. Lord, give me strength to leave R without destroying Grace. She'd been planning this, praying about it, using the language of faith to justify it. Help me know what to do. As if God was directing her to steal donor money and commit adultery. The prayers made me sicker than the affair itself. The performance of piety while planning betrayal. I heard the front door open. Grace, home from school. I closed the journal quickly, put it back in the drawer. Dad, she called. In here, baby. She came to the doorway, backpack still on, volleyball gear in hand. Can Bethany come over? We have a project. Sure. She started to leave, then stopped, turned back. Dad, are you and Mom okay? My daughter's eyes, 13 years old, too old to lie to, too young to burden with full truth. We're working through some things, I said. Is it bad? It's complicated, she nodded, wanted to believe that. Okay, but you'd tell me if something was really wrong, right? Grace is watching how I handle this, I thought. What faith looks like when it's tested. I promise, I said. When it's time to talk, we'll talk, honestly. She seemed satisfied with that. Went upstairs to call Bethany. I sat there with that prayer journal, thought about Ruth's words. The damage is already done. You're choosing what lesson she learns from it. Monday afternoon, I went to see Thornton. The foundation office is in downtown Asheville. Beautiful old building, renovated with donor money. Thornton's office was on the executive level. Big windows, expensive furniture, photos on the walls of him with influential people, politicians, other faith leaders. His secretary said he was in. I told her it was urgent. Thornton looked surprised when I walked in, then guarded. He'd been expecting this, maybe, or dreading it. Rob, what can I do for you? I closed the door behind me, sat down across from his desk without being invited. We need to talk about Kate. His face went carefully neutral, professional. Okay, I know about the affair. He didn't deny it. That surprised me. I'd expected religious language, deflection, maybe outright lies. But he just nodded slowly. I figured you'd find out eventually, he said. Eventually? You've been sleeping with my wife for 18 months, using donor money to fund your hotel rooms, and you thought I'd eventually find out? Rob, I understand you're angry. I found your Bible. Read your love notes in the margins. On our anniversary, David, you wrote about your new beginning with my wife on our 18th wedding anniversary. He had the decency to look uncomfortable. I didn't plan for that timing. Did you plan to get her pregnant? Silence. Because that ultrasound is dated July 15th. 8 weeks. Which means conception was in May. During the women's conference you didn't attend, except you did, didn't you? Just not officially. Thornton stood, walked to the window, hands in his pockets. When he turned back, his face had changed, less defensive, more calculated. Rob, let me be honest with you. Kate and I, we didn't plan this, but it happened. And now we have to figure out how to move forward in a way that minimizes damage. Minimizes damage. To everyone. To Grace. To the foundation. To you. There's a way to handle this quietly. Like you handled the last one? He stopped. What? I didn't actually know about another affair. Not yet. But the way he reacted told me I'd hit something. You think I'm the first person to notice? I pressed. You think Jamie's the only one who reviews the books? Thornton's jaw tightened. I don't know what you're implying. I'm implying that this is a pattern. I'm implying that you've done this before. And I'm implying that if I dig deep enough, I'll find evidence of it. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he sat back down, steepled his fingers like he was praying. Rob, we all fall short of God's glory. The question is whether you're going to practice the forgiveness you preach, or whether you're going to destroy multiple lives out of pride. I almost laughed. Don't talk to me about forgiveness while you're still sinning, David. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the silver key, the one I'd found in Kate's coat pocket, her key to his executive office, the one the security logs would show she'd used 47 times in 18 months, always after hours. I dropped it on his desk, metal on wood. Final. This is Kate's key to your office, the one she wasn't supposed to have. I'm betting security logs will show a pattern. I'm betting if we check cameras, we'll see things that are hard to explain. Thornton looked at the key. What do you want? I want you to resign, before this becomes public, before the audit reveals what you've done. And if I don't, then I go to Eleanor Hayes with everything I have, and you lose a lot more than your job. I left without waiting for an answer. Thornton leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled like he was praying. We all fall short of God's glory. The question is whether you're going to practice the forgiveness you preach. I dropped Kate's key to his office on his desk. Don't talk to me about forgiveness when you're still sinning. Eleanor Hayes called me that night. Rob, can you come by the house tomorrow? Thomas and I would like to talk to you. Thomas was her husband, retired attorney, 70 years old, sharp as ever. If Eleanor was bringing him in, this was serious. I drove to their house the next afternoon, a beautiful historic home in the Montford district. Eleanor answered the door herself. No housekeeper, no formality. Just Eleanor in casual clothes, looking older than I'd seen her look before. Tired. Thomas was in the study. He had papers spread across the desk. Rob, sit down, Eleanor said. We need to talk about David Thornton. My stomach tightened. What about him? Jamie came to me yesterday, showed me the credit card statements, the hotel charges, the discrepancies in how funds were allocated. She paused. I owe you an apology. For what? Thomas spoke up. His voice was measured, attorney careful. 6 years ago, when we hired David, there was a board member who raised concerns. He'd done some informal background checking, talked to people at David's previous church in Tennessee. There was an incident, Eleanor continued, an inappropriate relationship with a volunteer, young woman, 24. The details were murky. The church paid a settlement, made her sign an NDA, and David moved on. When it came up during our hiring process, David characterized it as a misunderstanding, said she'd misinterpreted his pastoral counseling as romantic interest. He was very convincing. We should have investigated further, Thomas said. We should have pushed harder. But David had impressive references. His ministry credentials were solid, and frankly, we needed someone with his fundraising abilities. The foundation was struggling. Eleanor pulled out a folder. After Jamie came to me, I did what I should have done 6 years ago. I made some calls, talked to people who knew him in Tennessee. She handed me a paper. A legal settlement agreement, dated 2019. Jennifer Martinez versus David Thornton and First Light Community Church. Settlement amount, $85,000. NDA included. He'd been sleeping with her for 8 months, Eleanor said quietly. Using church funds for trips. She was the administrative assistant. When she got pregnant, he pressured her to have an abortion. When she refused, he tried to get her fired. She sued. The church settled to make it go away. I felt sick. Jennifer wasn't the first, Thomas added. Just the first who was willing to fight back. Before Tennessee, there was a church in Georgia. Before that, Alabama. Always the same pattern. Charismatic leader, vulnerable woman in his sphere of influence. Systematic manipulation. When it gets messy, he moves on. Eleanor's hands were shaking slightly as she pulled out more papers. I've been going through foundation records. The donor thank you cards Kate was supposed to be writing. She stopped 18 months ago, right when the affair intensified. I gave $50,000 last year. Never got a thank you. At the time, I thought she was just overwhelmed. Now, she trailed off. Rob, I'm so sorry, she said. This is on us, the board. We didn't do our due diligence. We prioritized fundraising over character. And now, you and Grace and your family are paying the price. Thomas leaned forward. We're convening an emergency board meeting tomorrow. David will be asked to resign or face termination. Kate will be terminated for ethics violations. We're launching a full audit, and we're cooperating with any legal action you choose to take. Eleanor pulled out a manila folder, her hands shaking. 6 years ago, when we hired David, one board member raised concerns. A previous church, an inappropriate relationship with a volunteer. We didn't follow up properly. Rob, I'm so sorry. Jennifer wasn't the first. Your wife won't be the last unless we stop him now. That night, I had to tell Grace. Not everything. She didn't need the graphic details, but she deserved the truth, deserved to understand why her world was about to change. I picked her up from volleyball practice. Instead of going straight home, I drove to the park where we used to go when she was little, the one with the duck pond and the walking trails. Dad, what's going on? Grace asked as we parked. Let's walk, I said. We walked in silence for a few minutes. Early autumn in Asheville, the leaves just starting to turn, the air getting crisp. Grace kept glancing at me, worried. Finally, I stopped at a bench by the pond, sat down. She sat next to me. I'd brought the Christmas ornament, the felt angel. Morrison Family, 2018. Do you remember making this? I asked. She looked at it, smiled slightly. I was 6. I thought I was so good at crafts. You were. You are. Why do you have it? Because this was the last year our family felt real, before things started changing, before your mom got so busy with the foundation, before... I trailed off. Grace's face was serious now. Are you and Mom getting divorced? No point in lying. Yes, baby, we are. She was quiet. Then, is it because of Pastor David? My daughter, 13 years old, too smart, too observant. What makes you ask that? I see things, Dad. I'm not a kid anymore. The way they look at each other, the adjoining rooms, the way Mom always volunteers for his projects, the way she touches that necklace when she talks about him. She paused. Is she having an affair? Yes. Grace's face crumpled, not crying yet, but close. But they lead youth group. They talk about faith and integrity and living for God. How can they? I don't know, baby. I've been asking myself the same question. Is the baby Pastor David's? How did she know about the baby? Then I remembered. She'd been there when the ultrasound fell out, had heard me say, "You're pregnant." Yes, I said quietly. Grace stood up, paced to the edge of the pond. I watched her shoulders shake. When she turned back, her face was angry and hurt and confused all at once. If Pastor David and Mom can lie while praying and leading worship, how do I know any of it's real? How do I know God is real? There it was, the question that had been building, the faith crisis I'd been dreading. I pulled over. metaphorically speaking. This was the moment that would define everything. I went to her, knelt down so we were eye level, held out that little felt angel. Grace, listen to me. Faith isn't what people perform on stage. It's not the words we say during prayer or the image we project on Sunday morning. Faith is what you do when nobody's watching, when it costs you everything, when the truth is hard and the easy path is to stay quiet. But if they can fake it, they didn't fake their faith, baby. They just lost it somewhere along the way. Started confusing the performance of religion with the practice of it. Started believing their own image more than actual integrity. So, how do I know what's real? You watch what people do. You watch who shows up when it's hard, who tells the truth when lying would be easier, who sacrifices comfort for character. I paused. Right now, your mom is asking me to stay quiet, to keep this secret until after the foundation gala, to protect her reputation and Pastor David's award and the donor's comfort. She says it's for your sake, to protect you from scandal. What are you going to do? I'm going to file for divorce. I'm going to cooperate with the board investigation. I'm going to let the truth come out, even though it's going to be painful and public and hard. Because that's what integrity looks like. That's what faith looks like when it's tested. Grace was crying now. I pulled her close. Baby, you deserve people who show up, who tell the truth, who don't use the language of faith to hide the absence of it. Remember that, okay? When you're my age, when you have your own family, remember that love isn't words, it's actions. It's showing up even when it costs something. She held that little felt angel. Will I still be able to go to youth group? Will people hate me? The people who matter will show up, and the ones who don't, they're teaching you who they are. Listen to that. Grace looked up at me. You're showing up, Dad. You're the one showing up. I almost lost it then, held her tighter. Grace's voice was so small. If Pastor David and Mom can lie while praying and leading worship, how do I know any of it's real? How do I know God is real? I pulled over. This was the moment that would define everything, not just our marriage, Grace's entire understanding of what faith means. The next morning, I met with Thomas Hayes and Jamie Chen. Thomas's home office was efficient, retired attorney organized. Jamie brought his evidence binder, I brought mine. Before we proceed with the board meeting, Thomas said, we need security logs, proof of access patterns. Right now, we have financial discrepancies. We need to connect them to physical evidence of the affair. Jamie pulled up his laptop. I contacted the building management, got the electronic keycard logs for the last 18 months. Rob, I need you to confirm something. When did you find Kate's executive office key? Last week, in her coat pocket. She's a program director. She shouldn't have access to the executive level. Jamie turned the laptop screen toward me. This is the access log for key number 247. That's the spare key that was supposed to be in the lockbox in HR. Someone checked it out 18 months ago, never returned it. The log shows this key was used to access the executive floor 47 times, all after hours, all on weekdays. Want to see the dates? He scrolled through. I watched the list populate. Every late meeting Kate had told me about. Every emergency call from Thornton. Every night she'd come home after Grace was asleep. Cross-reference these with the credit card charges, Thomas said. Jamie pulled up another document. Highlighted dates started matching. Hotel charge on Friday. Multiple after-hours key uses in the days leading up to it. Pattern repeated, over and over. This is prosecutable, Thomas said quietly. Misuse of organizational funds. Fraud. If the board wants to press charges, I don't care about pressing charges, I interrupted. I just want my daughter safe. I want the truth out so she learns the right lessons. My phone buzzed. Pastor Ruth. Rob, I'm with Grace. She called me. Can you come to the church? My heart stopped. Is she okay? Physically, yes. Emotionally, she needs you. I drove to Riverside Church faster than I should have. Found Ruth in her office with Grace. My daughter was sitting in one of the counseling chairs, eyes red, holding that Christmas ornament. She came here during lunch, Ruth said quietly. Walked out of school. I called the school. They excused her. I knelt in front of Grace. Baby, what happened? I couldn't stop thinking about what you said, about faith being what you do when nobody's watching, about watching people's actions, not their words. She looked at me with those clear eyes. Dad, I've been watching for months. I just didn't want to see. See what? Mom doesn't come to my games anymore. She used to, every single one. But this whole season, she's missed all but two. She says she's at foundation events, but I checked the calendar. The events don't match up with her schedule. Grace, and she doesn't do our traditions anymore. Family movie night, Sunday breakfast, making ornaments at Christmas. She's just gone. Even when she's home, she's gone. Grace held up the felt angel. This was the last Christmas she showed up, really showed up. Ruth caught my eye, nodded slightly. I'm scared, Dad, Grace whispered. If Pastor David and Mom can fake it, if they can stand up in front of youth group and talk about God's love while they're lying, how do I trust anyone? How do I know what's real? Thomas looked at me over his reading glasses. Once we file with this evidence, the board will have to investigate. The audit will follow. This will be public. Are you ready for that? I thought about Grace's question in the car. Was I ready to show her what integrity actually looks like? If you've ever discovered that someone you trusted was using your belief in them as a weapon, that your faith in them was exactly what allowed them to hurt you, just type betrayed in the comments. You're not alone in this. I filed the next morning, Wednesday, September 18th. The clerk at the courthouse was efficient, businesslike. She took my paperwork, the divorce petition, the custody request, the evidence binder Thomas had helped me compile, and time-stamped everything. 9:47 a.m., official, permanent. She asked if I was sure. Standard question, I guess, required to ask. I'm sure, I said. The stamp came down, loud in the quiet office. Final. Thomas was with me. He'd insisted on coming, making sure everything was filed correctly. As we walked out, he put a hand on my shoulder. Eleanor's calling the emergency board meeting for 2 o'clock. All 8 board members have been notified. David and Kate will be asked to attend. They'll know I filed. Yes, word travels fast in a community this size. By tonight, a lot of people will know. I thought about Grace. She was at school right now, safe for a few more hours. In the before time. Before everyone knew, before her friends' parents started talking, before youth group became complicated. I need to pick Grace up early, I said, before school ends, before she hears it from someone else. Thomas nodded. You're doing the right thing, Rob. It doesn't feel like it now, but you are. The clerk stamped the filing. Time stamped. Official. In 2 hours, the board would convene. By tomorrow, everyone would know. I texted Grace. Coming to pick you up from school. We need to talk. I got to the school at 1:30. Told the office it was a family emergency. They didn't ask questions. Grace came to the main office looking worried. Dad, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Let's go home. In the car, she was quiet, scared. I could see her hands twisting in her lap, that nervous gesture she'd had since she was little. Am I in trouble? No, baby, the opposite. But some things are happening today, and I wanted you to hear them from me first. At home, I made hot chocolate, our comfort drink. The thing we'd done together since she was tiny, hot chocolate at the kitchen table, talking through hard things. She sat across from me, hands wrapped around the mug, waiting. I pulled out the Christmas ornament again, the felt angel. I'd been carrying it everywhere, like a talisman, like proof that something real had existed once. I filed for divorce this morning, I said. She nodded. She'd known this was coming. And I gave all the evidence, the credit card statements, the security logs, the Bible notes, to the foundation board. They're meeting this afternoon. Pastor David is going to be asked to resign. Your mom is going to be fired. Grace's face was very still, processing. There's going to be an investigation, an audit, probably news coverage. The foundation is well known. People are going to talk, your friends' parents, people at church. It's going to be public and messy and hard. Good, Grace said quietly. I looked at her, surprised. Good, she repeated, louder now. They shouldn't get away with it. They stole from kids, Dad. Kids like you were. Kids who needed help. And they used that money for hotel rooms and spa treatments. That's disgusting. My 13-year-old daughter, righteous anger in her voice. I know it's going to be hard, she continued. I know people will talk. Some of my friends might be weird about it, but that's better than pretending it didn't happen. That's better than teaching me that lying is okay if you do it quietly. I felt my throat tighten. Pastor Ruth told me something, Grace said. When I went to see her yesterday, She said that Jesus got angry when people use faith as a cover for hurting others. She said sometimes the most loving thing you can do is expose the truth, even when it's painful, even when people get mad at you for disrupting their comfort. When did you get so wise? I've been watching you. She held up the ornament. You kept this, after Mom threw it away. She threw it away? Last Christmas, I saw her. I was putting ornaments on the tree and she took this one and put it in the donation box. Said it was childish, old. Time to let go of old things. Grace's voice cracked slightly. But you kept it. You saved it. Because you remember when things were real. I hadn't known that. Hadn't known Kate had tried to throw it away. Grace, I need you to understand something. The next few months are going to be really hard. People are going to ask you questions. Some of them are going to take sides. Your mom is going to be angry at me. Pastor David is going to try to make himself look like the victim. And you're going to be caught in the middle. I'm already in the middle, Dad. I've been in the middle for 18 months while they lied to me. At least now I know the truth. At least now you're not pretending everything's fine. She reached across the table, took my hand. You're showing up, Dad. You're doing what you said, showing me what integrity looks like when it costs everything. I'm scared, but I'm not confused anymore. I know what real faith looks like now. It looks like you. Grace held that little felt angel she'd made 5 years ago. Will I still be able to go to youth group? Will people hate me? I knelt down to her level. Baby, the people who matter will show up, and the ones who don't. They're teaching you who they are. Listen to that. At 2 o'clock, my phone started buzzing. Eleanor. Board meeting started. We'll update when finished. Ruth. Praying for you and Grace. Jamie. Standing with you? Grace was upstairs in her room. Bethany had come over. We'd called her mom, explained the basics, asked if Bethany could be here for support. Grace needed her friend. I sat in the living room, waiting. The house was too quiet. At 3:15, Eleanor called. It's done, she said. She sounded exhausted. What happened? We presented the evidence, the credit card statements, the security logs, the hotel records. Jamie walked through the financial discrepancies. Thomas explained the legal implications. She paused. David tried to defend himself, used a lot of religious language, talked about forgiveness and grace and how we're all sinners, said you were acting out of spite and hurt pride. And I shut him down, told him to stop hiding behind scripture, told him we had proof he'd embezzled $8,240 from an organization meant to help vulnerable children, told him about Jennifer Martinez and the settlement in Tennessee, told him about the pattern we'd uncovered, 3 different churches, 3 different women, 3 different cover-ups. Eleanor's voice was cold, angry. I gave him a choice, resign tonight or we terminate him tomorrow morning and report everything to the ministry licensing board and the police. He chose resignation. And Kate? Terminated immediately for ethics violations, using organizational resources for personal benefit, failing in her professional duties. Those donor thank you cards, Rob, she hadn't written a single one in 18 months. Major donors felt ignored. She was too busy with her affair to do her actual job. I should have felt triumphant, vindicated, but I just felt tired. The foundation is going to survive this, Eleanor continued. We're issuing a statement tonight. Full transparency. We're bringing in an independent auditor. We're restructuring the board oversight. We're going to do this right, Rob, because of you, because you had the courage to tell the truth. After I hung up, I sat there for a long moment. Then I went upstairs, knocked on Grace's door. Come in. Grace and Bethany were sitting on the bed. Grace had been crying, but she looked okay. Sad, but not broken. The board meeting finished, I said. Pastor David resigned. Your mom was fired. Grace nodded. Good. Bethany looked between us. My mom says you're really brave, Mr. Morrison, both of you. Your mom's kind. She means it. She said it takes courage to blow up your own life because it's the right thing to do. After Bethany left, Grace and I made dinner together, just the 2 of us. Spaghetti, her favorite, simple, comfortable. Dad, she said while we were eating. Yeah, baby? What's going to happen to the baby? I'd been dreading this question. I don't know yet. That's your mom's decision to make, and Pastor David's. Will I have a half-sibling I never meet? Maybe. Or maybe there will be some kind of arrangement. I don't know, Grace. This is all new territory. She was quiet for a moment. I think I'd be okay not knowing the baby. Is that bad? No, honey, that's honest, and honest is good. Thornton stood, started to speak about God's grace and forgiveness. Eleanor cut him off. David, you use donor money meant for foster children, to fund adultery. You can resign tonight, or we terminate you tomorrow morning. Choose. If you were Rob in that moment, your daughter asking if God is real because church leaders lied, would you tell Grace the full truth about her mother and Pastor Thornton, no matter how much it hurts? Type truth. Or would you protect her innocence as long as possible, give her a gentler version? Type protect. What would you do? There's no easy answer. Rob chose truth because he realized that protecting Grace from reality would teach her the wrong lesson about what love looks like. But I understand both sides. 2 weeks later, Eleanor called again. Rob, I need to talk to you about the baby. Can you come by? At her house, Eleanor had someone with her, a woman in her 50s, professional, kind face. This is Sarah Chen, Eleanor said. She's an adoption counselor. She works with a Christian adoption agency I've been connected with for years through my board service. Sarah shook my hand. Eleanor called me about your situation. I understand Kate is pregnant and that the circumstances are complicated. That's one word for it. Eleanor mentioned you have a daughter, 13, and that you want what's best for all the children involved, including the baby. I nodded. I've been in contact with Kate, Sarah said carefully. Through her attorney, she's agreed to consider adoption. She recognizes that raising this child would be difficult, given the circumstances, given the public nature of what's happened. Eleanor spoke up. There's a couple, Michael and Lisa Brennan. They've been fostering for 7 years. They've been approved for adoption for 3 years, waiting for the right situation. They're in their early 40s, stable, faith-based family. They desperately want a baby. Kate's met them? I asked. Via video call. She's agreed in principle, but she wanted to make sure that Grace understood this wasn't abandonment, that this was about giving the baby the best possible start. Grace had been listening from the doorway. I hadn't realized she'd come in. Will I ever meet the baby? She asked. Sarah turned to her, spoke directly to her, not over her head, respecting her. That depends on what kind of adoption arrangement is made. Open adoption means there's some contact. Photos, maybe occasional visits. Closed adoption means no contact. The Brennans are open to either. But Grace, honey, sometimes the most loving thing we do is make sure a child has the stable home they deserve, even if that's not with us. Grace was quiet. Then, I think I want the baby to have a good home, a real home, not all of this mess. Eleanor looked at me. The Brennans would cover all medical expenses. The adoption would be finalized after birth. Kate is due in March. This could be resolved cleanly. Cleanly, I repeated. Nothing about this felt clean, but it felt right. Or as right as possible given everything. Okay, I said. Let's move forward. Grace asked the question I knew was coming. Will I ever meet the baby? Eleanor answered before I could. Sweetheart, sometimes the most loving thing we do is make sure a child has the stable home they deserve, even if that's not with us. 6 months later, March 2026. Early spring in Asheville. The trees were budding, the air was warming, the world was waking up. Grace and I had moved to a smaller house, 2 bedrooms, modest, affordable on a guidance counselor's salary, without Kate's income. But it was ours, honest, no lies in the walls. The divorce had been finalized in January, custody. Primary to me, supervised visitation for Kate. She'd moved to Charlotte, started over. I heard through mutual friends that she'd left faith work entirely, working in corporate HR now. Maybe that was better. Maybe she'd been trying to be someone she wasn't all along. Thornton had disappeared, left North Carolina entirely. Last I heard, he was in Texas, no church position. His ministry credentials had been revoked after the investigation. Jennifer Martinez had broken her NDA after our case became public. She'd told her story. Others had come forward. The pattern was exposed. The foundation survived. Eleanor and the new board had rebuilt trust through radical transparency. Donations were actually up. People respected the integrity response. Jamie was promoted. New executive director hired from outside, thoroughly vetted. The mission continued. Grace was doing okay. Therapy helped. Pastor Ruth helped. Time helped. She'd stayed in youth group. The new youth pastor was a woman in her 30s, authentic, no performance. Some of Grace's friends had been weird at first, but most had come around. The ones who didn't were teaching her about conditional friendship. Painful lesson, but valuable. And the baby, Sophia Rose Brennan, had been born in March, healthy, beautiful. Kate had signed the papers. The Brennans sent us a photo. Grace looked at it once, said, "She's pretty," and put it in a drawer. Maybe someday she'd want more. Maybe not. That was okay. Today, Grace and I were making Christmas ornaments. I know, it was March, not December. But after everything, after all the broken traditions, we decided to start new ones. And this one felt right. Making ornaments whenever we needed to mark something. New beginnings, healing, continuing forward. Grace was at the kitchen table, carefully cutting felt. She'd gotten better at crafts over the years. This angel was more precise than the one she'd made at 6. Neater stitching, steadier hand. She was adding something to it, words written in careful marker. "What are you writing?" I asked. She held it up. "Truth 2025. I felt my chest tighten. "Because that's what last year was about, right?" she said. "Learning that truth matters more than looking perfect. That integrity costs something, but it's worth it." She hung it on the small tree we kept in the living room. We'd decided to keep a tree up year-round. Why not? Our house, our rules. And there, next to her new angel, she hung the old one, the 2018 Morrison family ornament, both of them, together. "We don't have to throw away who we were, Dad. We just have to be honest about who we are now." She looked at me. "Right, right." She stepped back, looking at the ornaments. Old and new, before and after. Both valuable, both true. Pastor Ruth says that faith isn't about never falling down. It's about what you do when you get back up, about whether you tell the truth about the falling. Ruth's smart. She says you're one of the most faithful people she knows, because you chose truth over comfort, chose integrity over image. Grace smiled slightly. She says that's rare. I just did what I thought was right. That's what faith is, though, isn't it? Doing what's right even when it costs everything. I pulled her into a hug. "Dad?" "Yeah, baby. Faith is what you do when no one's watching, right?" I held her tighter. "Right, baby. That's exactly right." Later that evening, Grace was doing homework and I was cleaning up the kitchen. My phone buzzed. A text from one of the parents from youth group, a mom whose kid had been going through her parents' messy divorce. Grace talked to my daughter today, told her that doing the right thing is hard, but it's worth it, that watching her dad choose integrity over image taught her more about faith than any sermon. "Just wanted you to know, you're raising an incredible kid. She's helping mine get through this." I showed Grace the text. She shrugged, embarrassed. "I just told her what you showed me, that love isn't words, it's showing up. It's truth even when it hurts." "You learned that well." I had a good teacher. 6 months later, Grace was making a new ornament. She added something I didn't expect, Truth 2025, written in careful letters. She looked up at me, hope in her eyes. "Faith is what you do when no one's watching, right, Dad?" Rob and Grace redefined what family means, not who you're born to or who claims to love you, but who shows up when it costs something. If you've built your own chosen family after betrayal, if you've had to redefine what love and faith and integrity look like in your life, tell me about them in the comments. Who showed up for you? And if this story moved you, if Rob and Grace's journey meant something to you, subscribe. I tell stories about integrity, betrayal, and the courage it takes to do the right thing when everything's on the line. I'll see you in the next one.